In 1996, Pfizer ran unauthorized drug trials on 200 children in Kano, Nigeria. 11 died and dozens more were left deaf, brain damaged, or paralyzed. Yet no Pfizer executive faced a single criminal charge, and the company's own internal lawyer warned in writing that the experiment violated international law before it even began. They knew, and they buried it. So why has no one ever told you this? Pfizer is the company that gave us penicillin at scale, the polio vaccine era, and more recently, a COVID shot injected into billions of arms. Their branding is safety, science, trust. They run Super Bowl ads with warm lighting and reassuring doctors. They fund medical schools. They sit on government advisory panels. When people think of Big Pharma behaving badly, they picture a nameless, faceless corporation. Pfizer, in the public imagination, is the responsible one, the one that did it right. That image was carefully constructed, and it cost lives to maintain. In the spring of 1996, meningitis was tearing through northern Nigeria. Children were dying in the streets of Kano. Pfizer had a new antibiotic, Trovan, that hadn't been approved for pediatric use and hadn't completed a full trial anywhere in Africa. Instead of waiting, they saw an opportunity. Pfizer flew a team to Kano. They set up inside infectious disease hospital, right next to a Doctors Without Borders clinic using established treatments with proven results. Then they began administering Trovan to 100 children and used the other 100 as a comparison group. Given a competitor's drug at doses their own doctor later testified were deliberately reduced to make Trovan look better. There was no signed consent from parents, no ethics board approval from the Nigerian government, no independent medical monitor. There was one internal Pfizer letter, written after the trial ended, backdated to look like prior approval. It didn't exist when the children were treated. 11 children died during or after the trial. Dozens more were left with documented disabilities, blindness, deafness, brain damage, paralysis. Pfizer published the results in a peer-reviewed journal 2 years later and called Trovan a success. They framed the deaths as consistent with the severity of the meningitis outbreak. No mention of the consent failures, no mention of the manipulated dosages, no mention of the backdated letter. The Nigerian government launched an investigation. It sat in a drawer for years. A whistleblower inside Pfizer handed documents to the Washington Post in 2000. The story ran. And then, almost nothing happened. Pfizer denied the allegations publicly while its lawyers worked every available angle. The company was 4 years away from becoming the largest pharmaceutical corporation on Earth. But here's what they really didn't want out. In 2007, Pfizer's own internal documents were leaked to The Guardian. Among them, a memo from a senior Pfizer attorney acknowledging, in plain language, that the Trovan trial likely violated the Declaration of Helsinki, the foundational international ethics code for medical experiments on human beings. That memo was dated 2001. Pfizer had held it for 6 years. Also in those files, evidence that Pfizer's team had actively tried to locate dirt on Nigeria's Attorney General, the man leading the legal case against them, to use as leverage to kill the lawsuit. They contracted a Washington lobbying firm to surface corruption allegations. The goal was explicit: discredit him, bury the case. Meanwhile, the families of the 11 dead children received nothing. The families of the disabled received nothing. Pfizer fought the Nigerian government's lawsuit for over a decade. In 2009, 13 years after those children were treated, Pfizer agreed to settle. $75 million, spread across the families, the government, and legal fees. That number sounds significant. It wasn't. Pfizer's revenue that same year was $50 billion. The settlement was, to them, a rounding error, and it came with no admission of wrongdoing. No Pfizer executive was ever charged. Not in Nigeria, not in the United States. The lead physician on the trial, Dr. Juan Walterspiel, was actually fired, but not for the trial itself. He was let go after writing a letter to Pfizer's CEO warning about the ethical problems. The man who raised the alarm got pushed out. The men who ran the trial kept their careers. The U.S. Department of Justice was aware of the allegations. They chose not to pursue criminal charges. Nigeria lacked the legal infrastructure to compel extradition. And by the time any of this reached sustained public attention, Pfizer had absorbed Warner Lambert, merged with Pharmacia, acquired Wyeth, growing so deeply embedded in the global drug supply, so intertwined with the regulatory bodies overseeing it, that accountability became structurally impossible. Not because the evidence was thin, because the institution was too large to touch. The Trovan trial happened in 1996. The internal memo admitting the likely violation was written in 2001. The documents proving it became public in 2007. The settlement came in 2009. And Trovan, the drug at the center of all of it, was eventually pulled from the U.S. market, not because of Nigeria, but because it was causing liver failure in American patients. The experiment failed. The cover-up mostly worked. The company got larger. If that's how a story this documented ends, with memos, leaked files, dead children, and zero consequences, what do you think is still buried?